In the beginning, there was nothing but an egg, which hatched into Arceus, also known as the Pokemon God. Arceus then created Giratina, Dialga, and Palkia to administer the powers which formed the universe. Dialga and Palkia created the basis for the world of Pokemon, while Giratina was banished by Arceus to the Distortion World for its violence. With their labors complete, Dialga and Palkia retreated to their dimensions while Arceus continued its mission, creating the three Lake Guardians. More legendary Pokemon like Kyogre, Groudon were formed in the depths of the world, filling the seas with water and creating the land. Rayquaza, the third of these, floated high in the ozone layer and intervened whenever the two archenemies clashed. The only other Pokemon known from these times were the Mews found around the world, and Regigigas, who with his strength shaped the mini-regions and created three Titan Pokemon, Regirock, Regice, and Registeel, of clay, ice, and magma. The era of creation drew to a close as Arceus went into slumber upon creating three time-space orbs. Hundreds of millions of years passed, and the once great Mew population slowly declined. The first humans appeared, and the few Pokemon in the era of creation became many, as prehistoric types such as Kabuto, Kabutops, and Aerodactyl appeared, ruled for 200 million years, and went extinct following a meteorite impact. Only the first Pokemon bird, Archon, and the turtle Pokemon, Tortuga, were left to thrive and mark the beginning of a new line of Pokemon. Hundreds of millions of additional years passed and countless evolutions passed until the end of the last Ice Age, which led to another reduction of the number of existing Pokemon. The humans had by now settled the world and worshipped several of the legendary Pokemon, or as they called them at the time, magical creatures. One of these creatures was Regigigas, until they realized the threat that his powers posed to the Pokemon world. Fearing the unknown, they sealed him and the Rock Titans away, but darker times were looming. A few thousand years passed until a ferocious war broke out between two rivaling factions in the province of Kalos. However, instead of sending out their men to settle their differences, they sent out their Pokemon to do the battles for them. The terrible conflict resulted in the death of many Pokemon, including King AZ's Floette. Bearing witness to this horrible sight, the mighty AZ built a machine to revive the fallen Floette. However, this would bring another tragedy as the cannon had to take the lives of other Pokemon in order to revive. Floette was brought back to life, but the plan backfired horribly, as accidentally the machine would grant immortality to his Floette and himself. Filled with guilt, he couldn't forgive the responsible parties for the bloody war, and in his anger, transformed the machine of life to an ultimate weapon. Without remorse, he fired the weapon to put an end to the war. When Floette learned about this selfish act, she abandoned her master.
The destruction that followed was so great that it caused a rift in time and space itself and led to the creation of two different multiverses. In the first instance, the energy unleashed impacted specific stones out in space, creating megastones, while in the other multiverse, the Kalos War did not take place. Floette didn't fall, and the ultimate weapon was never constructed or fired by King AZ. In the outcome where the Megastones came to be, this event would mark the origin of Mega Evolution. 1,000 years passed since the Kalos War, and due to the meteorite showers of the Megastones in the Hoenn region, Kyogre and Groudon woke up from their slumbers in their primal forms and resumed their fight for world domination. Once again, Rayquaza intervened, but this time it was a result of pleas from the ancient Draconid tribe. When 1,000 years later another meteor shower caused Kyogre and Groudon to fight for the primal source, Rayquaza performed the first Mega Evolution and quelled the two arch-enemies. Around the same time in the Unova region, there was once a kingdom where the royal family had for a long time ruled the land with a mysterious dragon. This balance of power maintained until the day when the two successor princes ended up in a dispute over what should define their land: truth or ideals. As a result of this division, the original dragons split into Reshiram and Zekrom to serve each of the princes, while Kyurem was left as the empty husk of the original dragon. A decisive confrontation between the two brothers took place as Reshiram and Zekrom fought, but they were unable to conquer one another. As a result, the brothers set away their differences in an utterly ruined Unova. Time passed and the first Pokeballs were engineered. With it, the humans had finally the means to capture, store, breed, research, befriend, and most importantly, train Pokemon for battle in a competitive setting. To regulate and professionalize this gambling activity, official Pokemon leagues were set up in different regions. To enter these, a trainer had to travel across the particular region to obtain gym leader badges. From this point and onwards, children between the age of 10 and 12 were granted their first Pokemon. However, Pokemon battles remained a dangerous activity until Professor Westwood developed the first modern Pokeball in the year of 1925. The results of his research greatly reduced the danger of injury and death involved in hunting and catching Pokemon. With a lucrative multi-billion-dollar business on the rise, it was bound that unhonest souls would attempt to exploit the situation. This resulted in the creation of multiple criminal organizations aimed to steal Pokemon from trainers and blackmail executives. The most notorious of these was the Kanto-based Team Rocket, headed by the trainer turned businessman Giovanni. Rocket quickly grew to notoriety for organized theft and the sale of rare and valuable Pokemon on an industrial scale. Resorting to brutal methods against Pokemon and their trainers, the team was bent to conquer the world, but its leader had a completely different obsession, namely the legendary Mew. Following long searches, Giovanni and his scientists finally managed to replicate and alter the DNA of Mew to give birth to the ultimate Pokemon, Mewtwo. Upon learning its origins, it turned against Giovanni and the scientists, and it went into hiding within the Cerulean Cave. But this was just the beginning, as in the Distortion world, Giratina finally broke free from its imprisonment.
In this harsh reality, the renowned Pokemon researcher Professor Oak from Pallet Town prepared the new Pokédex and 3 starter Pokemon, Charmander, Squirtle, and Bulbasaur for Red, his grandson Blue, and the female trainer Green. Soon after departing the lab, Blue, who was bent on tormenting Red, challenged his rival for a battle on the road to Pewter City. At the town's gym, the two rivals would beat its leader Brock and earn their first badges. Red went on to earn the Cascade badge from Misty and the Thunder badge from Lieutenant Surge. Eventually, he arrived in Lavender Town, where he took on Team Rocket and together with Blue solved the mystery of the Haunted Tower. This resulted in the touching reunion between an orphan baby Cubone and the spirit of its murdered mother. From here on out, Red defeated 4 more gym leaders and confronted the Team Rocket boss, Giovanni, twice. The last of these was the struggle for the Master Ball. Red and his newly evolved Charizard were crushed, but he refused to give up. He sailed to Cinnabar Island, where he learned about the discovery of a new Pokemon. However, nothing could prepare him for who was the leader of the 8th and final gym in Viridian City, Giovanni. After a long and hard-fought battle, Red finally defeated the criminal mastermind and taught him a lesson of what Pokemon are truly about. With it, the final obstacle to the Indigo Plateau had been cleared, and Giovanni's change of heart led to the disbandment of Team Rocket. Red conquered Victory Road and defeated the Final 4 of the Pokemon League. Only one challenge remained, the current champion, Blue. After draining up their remaining Pokemon, it was time for the final showdown. Fire against water, Charizard versus Blastoise. Both had come a long way, but only one had an unbreakable bond. This difference turned decisive as Red defeated his arch-rival and became a Pokemon champion. But the journey was far from over, as the Pokédex had yet to be completed, and Red resumed his quest, catching legendary Pokemon such as Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres, and then set course for Cerulean Cave and Mewtwo. This battle had one outcome, but two different means to it. In the first one, where Mega Stones and Mega Evolutions exist, the battle was in reality lost after Charizard and Red were sent out flying. Just then, the Mega Stones reacted and Charizard Mega Evolved and single-handedly weakened Mewtwo and served him cornered on a silver plate to Red. In the other reality, the battle was much tougher as Mewtwo continued to regenerate, or Red just threw his Master Ball to end the battle.
Meanwhile, in the Hoenn region, two other trainers, May and Brendan, were about to set off on their quest and discover the dark secrets of the province. May's father Norman, who had recently taken over the position as the leader of the Petalburg Gym, sent May to his friend Professor Birch to pick up her first Pokemon, Trico, Torchic, or Mudkip. Upon saving the professor from a wild Poochyena, she was allowed to keep the Pokemon used in the battle and, along with Brendan, departed to claim the 8 gym badges and challenge the Elite Four of the Hoenn province. Nevertheless, two opposing criminal organizations, Team Magma, headed by Maxi, and Team Aqua, headed by Archie, had set their goal on the next meteorite shower to awaken the legendary Pokemon Groudon and Kyogre to wreak havoc on the region. May awoke the legendary rock titans of Hoenn, Regice, Registeel and Regirock, battled the many grunts and admins, and slowly learned that the two teams aimed to use the red and blue orbs in the seafloor cavern to summon Groudon and Kyogre to respectively expand landmass for humans and expand the amount of water. Despite being warned, the team leaders awoke the sleeping giants. This was a massive mistake, as the ancient Pokemon had no interest in obeying the teams and headed out to Sutopolis City, causing the weather to go wild. To prevent the apocalypse, May had to use the reclaimed orb to weaken the giants. The ultimate showdown was about to take place as Groudon and Kyogre unleashed their true power. Luckily, when all seemed lost, May hurried to awaken Rayquaza, who flew off and separated the two, thus preventing further devastation. With all the 8 badges, the time had finally arrived to challenge and beat the Elite Four and the current Pokemon League champion Steven. May was then inducted into the Hall of Fame. In the Mega Evolution universe, Team Magma and Team Aqua initiated Project Azoth, which had a goal to return the world by using primal reversion, which, unlike Mega Evolution, does not require a bond between people and Pokemon, but rather natural energy. When the blue or red orbs were thrown by either Maxi or Archie, May failed to prevent Groudon or Kyogre from reverting to their primal forms. Instead, she had to corner, battle, and finally catch either of the two primal beasts without summoning Rayquaza, as May managed to calm down Groudon or Kyogre in time. However, there was another threat that was targeting the Pokemon world from space, the Meteoroid. Originally Zinnia, a Pokemon trainer of the ancient Draconid tribe, had infiltrated Team Magma/Team Aqua in order to waken Groudon or Kyogre and then call Rayquaza back to Hoenn to destroy the approaching Meteoroid. When this couldn't happen due to May's actions, she changed her plan and broke into Professor Birch's home to steal May's keystone. Learning about this, the fresh Hoenn League champion set out to battle Zinnia, who, in order to prevent the teleportation of the oncoming Meteoroid and thus dooming another dimension, destroyed the device and revealed her big secret at Sky Pillar. Zinnia told May about Rayquaza, and the two teamed up to summon the legendary Pokemon with their keystones. Nevertheless, in an unexpected turn of events, Rayquaza was too weak to Mega Evolve, and it was first after May gave her Meteoroid for Rayquaza to consume that the evolution finally took place. May then battled and captured Mega Rayquaza, used it to fly out to space, destroyed the approaching Meteoroid, battled and captured Deoxys at the edge of space. To May's great disappointment, Zinnia had already left Skypillar, leaving only a note to May, thanking her for freeing her from her lifelong duty.
In the non-Mega Evolution universe, 3 years passed until the neighboring region of Johto. 2 new trainers with quite different principles set out on their great adventure. Ethan, a young trainer, had just picked his starter Pokemon from Professor Elm when he caught Silver stealing from the laboratory and challenged him for a battle. Upon this first encounter, Ethan set out to claim the 8 badges of Johto. On the way, Ethan met Kurt, a special Pokeball maker who persuaded the young trainer to fight against the restored Team Rocket. It soon turned out that Rocket Grunts had hijacked the Goldenrod radio tower and transmitted a plea to their former boss. 3 long years had passed since police forces stormed the Viridian Gym, which Giovanni had just abandoned. Traveling from gym to gym, Ethan encountered Silver on numerous occasions and battled Team Rocket members who attempted to locate Giovanni. Upon their decisive defeat, Ethan captured the legendary Ho-Oh, while Silver caught Ludia. Finally, he encountered Suicune after awakening the other legendary beasts, Raikou and Entei, from their slumber at the Burn Tower. But the real test was yet to come after Ethan was entrusted the clear bell at the Tin Tower. With all 8 badges, Ethan returned to Professor Elm. The professor handed him a Master Ball and told him to head for Kanto. Ethan crossed Victory Road, beat Silver one last time, and challenged and defeated the Elite Four and the current Pokemon champion, Lance. Ethan was greeted by Professor Oak and inducted in the Pokemon Hall of Fame, and then went on to challenge the 8 gyms of the Kanto region. With all Kanto badges, Ethan was finally granted passage by Professor Oak to Route 28 and up to Mount Silver, where a true Pokemon master awaited. Red, with his Pikachu, Lapras, Venusaur, Blastoise, Snorlax, and Charizard, was an incredible final challenge to take on for Ethan. The exhausting and decisive battle began, and the 2 masters followed each other Pokemon by Pokemon, dealing one spectacular blow after the other. In the end, each of them had only 1 Pokemon left. Red's trusty Charizard battled courageously, but had finally, after a long fight, to give in to Ethan. Defeated, Red departed Kanto to explore the other regions of the Pokemon world.
Not long after, in Johto, a mysterious red Gyarados was sighted in the Lake of Rage, an event that was televised and viewed by the soon-to-be trainer, Dawn. After selecting a starter Pokemon from Professor Rowan, the time had come to venture out and explore the Sinnoh region. Just like in previous cases, Dawn had to claim all the region badges, fight an evil organization named Team Galactic, and then challenge the Elite Four and the League Champion. What is interesting about Sinnoh is Team Galactic with its leader Cyrus. Their aim was to recreate the entire Pokemon universe into a utopia without spirit by summoning the legendary Dialga and Palkia to alter time and space. Unable to handle them, the Lake Guardians couldn't not interfere with the plans. Nevertheless, when all seemed lost, the banished Giratina stopped Cyrus, Dialga, and Palkia to prevent the destruction of the Pokemon and Distortion worlds. Giratina returned back to its world and Dawn followed after. Thanks to some help from Mesprit, Uxie, and Azelf, as well as Cynthia the champion, Dawn was able to navigate through the gravity-defying environments. And there it was, Arceus's banished and misunderstood creation, Giratina. The legendary and infamous Pokemon was a tough foe, but in the end, Dawn weakened it enough to be captured, calmed, and then used in the final battles against the Elite Four and the current champion, Cynthia. With these victories, the time had come to awaken and catch the legendary Titans, Regirock, Regice, and Registeel, and finally, Regigigas at Snow Point Temple.
A few years passed until a new trainer, Hilbert, set off on his own quest into the Unova region. Similarly to the previous cases, this region also had its plague, Team Plasma. Claiming to fight for the freedom of Pokemon, it soon turned out that their leader Ghetsis' true aim was to be the only trainer left with Pokemon. Learning about this, Hilbert was called by one of the legendary dragons to rise up against N, the lackey of Ghetsis. It soon turned out that he had the opposing dragon, leading to a decisive battle between the two. As a result of his defeat, N realized his mistake, turned against Team Plasma and Ghetsis. Nevertheless, similarly to the disillusion of Team Rocket, the destruction of Plasma was nothing else but wishful thinking. As no more than 2 years later after their presumed defeat, a new trainer, Nate, encountered them and learned about their new target, the complete takeover of the Unova region. Infuriated of his past defeat and the new nuisance, Ghetsis decided to utilize Kyurem to clear his path to rule and get rid of any opponents, including Nate. In that moment, the remorseful N appeared to save the young trainer, but instead fell into his former superior's trap. Nate was left alone, but accepted the challenge and defeated once and for all Ghetsis and the dragon. With the threat out of the way, Nate finally took the step to become Unova champion and, as a gesture of gratitude, received the remaining dragon from N. Afterwards, he would go on to compete in the Champions Tournament of the Pokemon World Tournament in the Unova region, where, amongst many challengers, was Red from Kanto.
Welcome to the beautiful and elegant region of Kalos, where everything is fabulous apart from Team Flare. After choosing their starter Pokemon from Professor Sycamore, the strong and independent trainer set out on the adventure of a lifetime. Following the victory against the first gym leader, Viola, Serena went on to enter the gates of the spectacular Luminous City. Having no way to enter the town gym, she instead went to fight Grant for the Cliff Badge. Joined by her neighbor Colin, they battled for the first time against the ideological syndicate Team Flare, and then visited Gherkin, the Mega Evolution expert. Here, Serena was told to challenge his daughter, Corina, at the Shalour gym, and then at the Tower of Mystery. For these two victories, Serena was rewarded with a Mega Ring, Rumble Badge, and a special Lucario. Serena went on to defeat Ramos, earning her the Earth Badge, defeated the Team Flare scientist Aleana, and restored the power supply to Luminous City. There at Prism Tower, Clement, his Electric-type Pokemon, and the Voltage Badge awaited her. She then challenged and came out victorious against the Psychic Olympia, but had no time to celebrate as the boss of Flare announced his plans to use the ultimate weapon on Kalos. Serena challenged Lysander and discovered the imprisoned and immortal AZ. Lysander told about AZ and his involvement in the Kalos War 3,000 years prior, and went on to blackmail the young trainer to defeat Xerosic. But this was just a setup, as Lysander's true goal was to create a better world and remove anyone who opposed him. Infuriated, Serena caught the legendary Pokemon Xerneas and Yveltal, and took on Lysander with her newly acquired Mega Stone, and left Lysander to be destroyed by his own ego and the so-called ultimate weapon. Full of confidence and determination, Serena defeated the final gym leader Wulfric, conquered her way through Victory Road, crushed the Elite Four in the Pokemon League, and the champion Diantha. A true legend had finally reached her goal of becoming the Pokemon Master of Kalos, caught the 50% form of Zygarde, and was even responsible for the heartwarming reunion between the former King AZ and his Floette. Sometime after, in the exotic Alola Islands region, Lily and Cosmog had been spotted and chased by employees in an odd laboratory. Luckily, thanks to Cosmog, the two managed to get away safely from this suspicious location. 3 months passed, and Sun, who had just moved from Kanto, was greeted by the local Hau and brought to Professor Kukui and his assistant Lily to select one of the Alolan starter Pokemon, Rowlet, Litten, or Poplio. Naturally, it didn't take long until the criminal Team Skull showed up and tormented the two young trainers, attempting to steal their Pokemon and, in the case of Sun, his precious Greninja. Nevertheless, the skirmishes against Skull had to wait, as Sun was enrolled into trainer school, and soon after received a stone, which was carved into the powerful Z-Ring by Hau's grandfather, Hala.
Unlike Mega Evolution moves, the Z-Ring could be used by all Pokemon to perform a combined trainer and Pokemon attack, the Z-move. However, this attack had its disadvantages compared to Mega Evolution, as it required the application of the correct Z-Crystal to the right Pokemon type and could only be used once per battle.
Unlike other provinces, Alola didn't have designated town gyms. Instead, they had kahunas, or island challenges. Fittingly, Hala was the kahuna of Melee Island. Upon defeating him, Sun moved on to Akala Island and received a Zygarde core. There, Sun defeated the island kahuna Olivia and was shortly after introduced to Lusamine, the president of the Aether Foundation, who invited him to Aether HQ on the artificial Paradise Island. There, Sun was told about the Foundation's purpose to protect and cure wounded Pokemon from the clutches of Team Skull and its enforcer Gladion. Surprisingly, an unidentified type of Pokemon, Ultra Beast 01 and 02 appeared, and Sun was forced to defeat the uncontrollable 01. As a gesture of gratitude, Lusamine told Sun about the origin of the Ultra Beasts, that they derived from an alternate dimension called Ultra Space and arrived to Alola through an Ultra wormhole.
Sun departed for Ula Ula Island and defeated the Team Skull leader, Guzma. Not long after, Lily with Cosmog met up again, just in time before Team Skull's Plumeria grabbed Cosmog away. Surprisingly, Gladion showed up and brought the three to the secret Aether base, where it was revealed that Cosmog was an Ultra Beast capable of opening the Ultra Wormhole. That Team Skull's leader had collaborated with Lusamine to open it, and finally, massive spoiler alert, Lily was Lusamine's daughter. Lusamine was stopped in time, and Cosmog was spared from death, but Lusamine and Guzma escaped through the closing wormhole to space. From here, Lily followed Sun to the Pony Island, got Sun and Moon flutes, and played them at the Altar of Moon to reawaken Cosmog and transform it into either the legendary Lunala or Solgaleo to open the wormhole to Ultra Space. There, Guzma and Lusamine awaited their arrival, and it was finally revealed that UB1 was in fact Nihilego. Angered, Lily confronted her mom, and Sun was forced into a final battle against the corrupted fusion of Lusamine and Nihilego. Back at Pony, Lily told Sun that Lunala, or Solgaleo, wants to continue traveling with him. After catching it, Sun went and learned about the Pokemon League in the region and was shocked to find his former Kahulas to be the Elite Four. Sun kept calm, carried on, and finally challenged and defeated the current champion. Shortly after Looker, the international police officer, approached Sun with the task to hunt down the remaining Ultra Beasts and dropped the bombshell that a human faller, Annabelle, from another world had ended up in this world through an Ultra wormhole. But this was merely the beginning, as Looker continued to explain that UBs didn't voluntarily come to this world, and that Annabelle, who inherits a strong Ultra wormhole aura, had been recruited by the UB Police Special Task Force as UB bait. In fact, Annabelle originally derived from the Hoenn region in a different world, protecting a tower in the battle frontier. Could Annabelle really be from the Hoenn region in the non-Mega Evolution universe? It appears like that would be the case, and more importantly, that there is a way to travel between the universe where Mega Evolution exists and the other where it doesn't. There are indeed two timelines. Pokemon will never be the same. And after Sun caught the remaining UBs with the newly developed Beast Ball, he battled Mega Evolution Universe Red and Blue, who were visiting Alola for the battle tree.
By beating the former Kanto champions, Sun finally had time to assemble the 10% and then 100% form of the powerful legendary Pokemon Zygarde. They would then go on to catch the mysterious Necrozma, 4 Guardian Tapu Pokemon, and finally the synthetic human-type Null Pokemon to complete the Pokédex of the Alola region.
And that is all, folks. Thank you so much for watching the complete Pokemon timeline. Please give a like to spread this video to more people. And if you haven't already, then subscribe to Commonwealth Realm for more videos on gaming timelines and lore, Zelda Breath of the Wild, and the Nintendo Switch.